Yes, sir.
Si, senor.
Yes, sir. We are live.
Hey there.
Hey, so we have to do our clapping intro.
It's officially started.
It is. It is. We have Matthew back here at the panel,
What's going on?
and we're live tonight for the first time.
Live, so you
That
can't
means-
mess up and edit
So that
it
means
out.
all of our screw-ups are going to be shown around the world to our 10 people that might watch this.
We got 10 now? Upgrades, people, upgrades.
It's a 30% increase every episode. Congrats.
So this is the JMR podcast, episode 3. We were supposed to have a couple more with us tonight,
A panel.
a panel, but didn't work out. So we're stuck with us 3 again.
Back to the good old 3. We'll have a panel eventually. If you want to be on the panel, shoot us an email at jmrpodcast@gmail.com. Is that actually an email we can use? I don't know.
Somebody's getting the email.
It is an it is an email that exists. That is our email. I cannot look into that camera with those lights. So I just can't.
Sorry.
It's so bright.
It's over there.
I know it's there.
Just in that direction. Just look towards the pole.
All right, so how's y'all week's been?
It's good. We didn't get a hurricane. We didn't get like a double whammy hurricane, so I'm going to...
Listen, as far as hurricanes go, I don't really take them seriously until they're like at our doorstep.
I don't take it seriously till either... what's bald head dude from the
Rick
Weather Channel?
Cantor.
Yeah, till Rick Cantor shows up, or it's a legit Category 3.
Man, I don't know what it is about Florida, but they don't like us. They don't. They go to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico gets hit by every one of them.
Yep.
I feel so bad for that country. They get hit by every single one of them goes through Puerto Rico or the Bahamas or those islands. But they either once they get past there, they either turn left or turn right. They either go out to sea, or they go to like Texas or something. And anytime that they're gonna come here, or they look like they're gonna come here, it's like at the last second. It's like, nah, I'm not going there.
It dips its toe into
It's like-
Florida.
I'm going out to sea.
Deuces.
Yeah. I found out that all our bars are closed.
That's got to be
I
it.
saw that meme on, I don't know where I saw it.
I was going to hit Florida last week, but no, bars are closed. Couldn't hit my pit stop.
Yeah.
How's your week, Matt?
My week's been all right. I've been in bed most of the weekend. I just started up, I was sick for a little bit. Not COVID.
That's why you're on the other side of the table from me.
Yeah, right.
Good luck, Josh.
No, I'm feeling kind of hot. No, I'm kidding. Other than that, though, I'm over now. I think it was food poisoning, to be honest. I had
Food poisoning sucks.
I ate at this restaurant. I won't say the name just because I don't think I should. But anyways,
They're probably watching this right now.
they're totally watching this right now. Anyways, I had some eggs from there. It was breakfast food, so that may give it away.
Either Perkins or Denny's or Waffle House.
None of those 3, surprisingly.
Can you not say it because it was your mom?
No, it was IHOP. Anyways, I had like some eggs from there. It tasted like there's cleaning supplies in it. So I wonder if I got like something bad from there. But I was so hungry, I didn't care. I just kept eating. But I think that's what it was. Anyways, we're going to other side of the week. Monday started yesterday, right? So I started college. I can't believe I'm going back to college.
Did your Zoom meeting crash like everybody else at 9 o'clock?
No, we didn't have any Zoom meeting. It's all online though. But it's a
People's
late-
Zoom meetings crashed?
Yeah, it was like all over the news yesterday. For what little I watched the news, like everybody
I
who
didn't
did
even hear about
online
that.
school, Zoom servers crashed, like
Yeah.
surprise, because there was like up 10 million kids.
Wow, imagine that.
Surprise.
Yeah.
As a backup,
Fortunately,
everybody got on TikTok and just danced for 2 hours. Zing. Point for me.
Fortunately, I didn't have to do any of that. I'm looking forward to the 2 classes I'm taking. But man, I'm not looking forward to the workload. For probably the next 5 years, I'm working that full-time job, so I'm only taking 2 classes a semester, which will take me even longer to get my bachelor's degree. But I'm grateful to have that job, and it's a decent income, so I'll be okay with sticking it out a little longer to get that degree to be sure I have a job that's also has some really amazing benefits for where I am.
Word. What about you, Josh? How's your week?
Yesterday was my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Woo, woo, woo.
I was 32 for 2 years. I haven't told you all that story.
I'm pretty sure
Have I told you
those
that
aren't
story?
in the rules and you're
I
doing it
love
wrong.
this story.
Have
Tell
I,
it
I
again.
have not told
Never.
you this story.
No, but I'm about to.
Okay. All right. So, 2 years ago, I was 31.
That's a good place to start the story.
2 years ago, I was 31, but I thought I was 32. So, 2 years ago, when people were asking me how old I was telling them 32 because I forgot how old I was. And one day, I was in the car with my wife, and I don't know what we were talking about, but that got brought up. And I was like, yep, turning 33 this year, last year. And I was kind of down about it because I'm getting older. And she was like, bro,
You ain't 33.
she said, bro, you're 31. You're turning 32 this year. So, oh, that was loud. So, I decided that I got to be 32 for 2 years. And yesterday, I turned 33.
Officially.
Maybe. You know those, okay, so there's Wikipedia pages for celebrities that, there's only a few of them, but I've seen a couple of them where, like, it shows their age, and it has 2 dates. And it'll say, like, I don't have an example, but just a random person on Wikipedia, celebrity, and it'll say, like, this person is either 35 or 32. They were either born on this day, and it's, like, way off. It's not like they're either 32 or 31. It's always, like, a couple years off.
Man, I'm gonna start
Like,
telling
how do
everybody
you mess
my
up that
birthdays.
bad? Like, how do you not know if you're 35 or 31? I can get not knowing one
Is
one
it someone
age.
who has done lots of illicit drugs
It
in
was
their
no,
lifetime?
it was like a mate. I can't think of who it was now, but it was like a well-known person.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah,
I've seen that before.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I don't know who, but I've seen it before, and
Yeah.
it's like
Has
way
2
off.
2
And I've seen like
birthdays.
pages where they may have not not updated them.
So now that this has happened to me, when our podcast gets famous and we have our own Wikipedia pages, I'll have your Wikipedia pages. We'll all know how old you are, but mine will have 2 birthdays.
Yours is going to have this cool asterisk in there.
And it'll say he may be
May or may
36
not.
or he could be 35.
Yeah. Reportedly.
So that's the story of my birthday.
I did not know that.
So my birthday was yesterday, and that's so far that's all I've done this week.
That's cool.
It's early in the week, so
Do you, when you have your birthday, do you claim the whole week or the weekend?
no. But my mother-in-law claims the entire month.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's more excessive than my wife, because my wife, depending on the year, sometimes Mother's Day and her birthday fall on the same day.
Yeah,
And-
she claims
and
the whole month.
She claims the whole weekend, and I'm like, okay, like, I get it, like, but the month, dude, like, that's excessive.
It's hardcore.
Woo.
If I could get away with it, I would claim the whole year if I could. It's my birth year. Sometime in this year, my birthday is happening.
What about when you get to the end of the year? Do you just start over? I mean, are you only allowed to claim that 365 in a lifetime and you're
No,
done?
every year I have a birthday, so.
Oh, you get to claim the 365 all year.
A few
Wow.
weeks ago, we celebrated our unbirthdays.
on birthdays.
I saw that post. Could you elaborate on that?
We just wanted cake that day, so we got cakes for all 3 of our kids. It was none of our birthdays. And we just said, today we're celebrating our unbirthdays. We have 364 of them.
By that definition, Rhonda and I are super old, dude, because we have cake and donuts and festivities all the time. I love being an adult, right? So as a kid, my mom baked cakes, right? And like you can't be super duper fat and eat all of the cake in one sitting. And so inevitably, cake would be underneath the little plastic lid thing for breakfast. And I would be the only person awake. Dude, what doesn't sound better than having a piece of cake for breakfast as a child, right? Cool, did that.
Can't beat that.
My mother would wake up because I was young and a kid and I'm lazy and I didn't clean up the mess. And so there'd be a plate with chocolate frosting. My mom would be like, hey, what'd you have for breakfast? And cereal. Uh-huh. Cereal probably tasted a lot like cake, didn't it? Yeah. Okay, cool. But not being able to do that as a child, now that I'm an adult and I can make my own rules and do what I want. I can't tell you how many times Rhonda and I have had dessert for dinner, ice cream for dinner, cake, donuts. The other day we had gift certificates to Cheesecake Factory. We totally rolled in a Cheesecake Factory and we told the dude, he's like, okay, cool. What would you like to drink? I was like, yeah, cool. I would like a coffee and a water because I want cheesecake. We're going to do cheesecake first. And then we're going to go backwards and we're going to do dinner.
That's hardcore.
Home dude was like, I've never had somebody do that. I was like, first time for everything, dude. Bring the dessert. Let's go. I'm not playing.
The
Nice.
cheesecake is intense there.
Oh, yeah.
It's intense.
It's kind of intimidating because normally when you get a dessert menu, you get
It's
like
a big,
4 or 5 things.
It's a big piece, too.
Oh, yeah, it's sizable.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going to lie.
It's not like a piece you get from like Perkins or something like that. It's a big chunk.
Perkins has good pie, though, man.
We're off in the sticks.
Yeah, we're off in the sticks.
People are probably like, are you guys ever going to talk about tech?
I mean, we can
What's
now.
tech?
We can now.
We talk about tech here?
When we talked about food. I talk
We
about
never
food.
talk about tech. What are you talking about?
All right. So shout out to those of you that are either tuning in live, possibly. I'm not sure if anybody's tuning in live, but if you are, cool. Shout out to those of you that are watching this sometime down the road.
On the playback.
Appreciate your support.
Playback.
Tonight we are going to talk about 3 topics, and our first one is going to be let's talk about. Okay, so Samsung had a big week last week.
Sure did.
It was like the Super Bowl of Samsung for this year. Every tech company has like their Super Bowl. You know, Apple has the iPhone launch. Samsung has the Note. I don't know anybody else. I guess nobody else really has Super Bowl moments.
They probably do. They're just not as cool.
So Samsung had their big week last week with the release of 2 phones, the Note 20, and the big boy, Note 20 Ultra. Picked one up for myself. And this phone is #boss. It's a good phone. People like to criticize a lot of petty things with phones nowadays. So, for example, there's a lot of criticism that this phone, if you were to buy it outright at the store, this phone costs $1,300. But, hold on. When you think of it like that, you put it as a blanket statement, it sounds crazy, and you go, wow, that's
I could either pay rent or buy a phone.
correct.
Yeah.
But when you think about what this phone can do, this phone can literally, not for everybody, okay? Not for everybody. But for some people, this can replace your laptop or computer and your tablet and your camera and your audio player.
And if you really like to write things down, your little
And it
day
has a
planner.
stylus,
It has a
which is honestly cool. It sounds gimmicky, but I
No,
always
they're-
say
they're top
it's
notch
not a
on those
gimmick
phones.
unless you haven't tried it. So, so yeah, it's $1,300 if you buy it outright. But when you think of how much you would pay for a tablet or a laptop, let's say got a user that is a very light PC user. They're going to school. They just use it for media consumption and writing papers. You can do all of that on this phone. It runs Microsoft products. So it runs like Microsoft
So you could run
Word.
Office if you want to.
You can run
there.
PowerPoint.
Yep.
You can use, hold up. This is cool. You can use, this is a Bluetooth. This has got Bluetooth.
That little thing?
Yes. So,
All right, now I'm impressed because you didn't say that earlier.
So for example, I can pull up my camera and
You gotta take a photo right there with your stylus.
so like hold that, Matt, like that. Point at Rob. So like, so
Can
I
I-
can,
can
so
I
I can
mean
use
mug you?
this and I can take a picture
With your pen?
like that.
What?
Boom.
What?
That's a
It's
new
like
snapshot
Harry
right
Potter
there.
Wand.
And there's our, that's going to be on, that is literally going to be our profile picture tonight.
Nice.
Let's get it.
Nice.
So you can use it as a shutter button.
No, that's a Harry Potter wand and Shazam.
If you're running a PowerPoint, you can use it as a clicker.
No way.
Yeah,
Get out of here.
you can use it as a clicker. You can use it to sign documents.
yeah, that's cool. I got fat finger, dude. Like that's way better than my fat finger.
And this phone, like I said, it can replace a computer because it has the DeX mode. So if you have a monitor or a smart TV that connects to Wi-Fi, you hit the DeX button, and what it does is you can still use your phone as normal. It's not like it's one or the other. So you hit DeX mode, it puts a Windows-like software on your TV or a monitor or whatever. You still have access to your phone. You can still use your phone
That's a
like normal.
game changer right there.
Yeah.
when
it
you can
basically
still use
mirrors your
phone.
screen.
No,
but
it doesn't mirror it.
Oh.
It doesn't mirror it. It here let me show you a picture so you can see what I'm talking about. So,
Yeah,
You
when
can
you sent that photo, I was a little confused. I was like, how are you
so
using
that's
that
DeX.
phone?
That's on my TV right there.
I know, I saw that. But you're controlling it. You see it on your screen on your phone.
No.
Oh no, it.
My phone right now, right there, is just like this. It's the same as what I'm doing right now.
Oh.
This is
He's-
like a
I guess
whole
he's getting-
second screen.
Yeah, right?
It
That's
just
pretty
hit me.
cool.
It just hit me.
If you have a Bluetooth keyboard or a Bluetooth mouse,
Yeah.
you can pair it to that and use it like a computer.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, this will turn into a touchpad. You can still use your phone as normal. You just hit a little button on the menu. It brings up a touchpad. And you can control the mouse on your TV.
That's dope, dude. I like that.
So like I was showing Becca a video, and her parents were over, so I wanted to show it to everybody. I was like, hold up, wait a second. I don't have to pass the phone around anymore.
I got a cool magic trick. Watch
Check
this.
this out. So all of us are able to watch
Boom,
it.
on the TV.
And it sounds, I know, it sounds kind of gimmicky. But
No, dude. It's well. I mean, yes and no, but that's a cool feature. In a moment where you can use it. Like I don't have a uber smart TV at home that has all that stuff, so I can't use that capability.
here's
But
the thing,
if
though.
I didn't want to drag a laptop into a meeting and I've got my
Right.
PowerPoint on it, bam, there's my phone done.
Here's my thing, though, and I feel like this happens a lot. I feel like if Apple were to come out with this, it would be game over. It'd be like, all right, Apple came out with it. It's game over. Everybody's going to use this now.
It's the new standard. Yeah.
It's the new standard. This is what we're doing. That's exactly what happened when Apple came out with the Apple Watch. Samsung was making watches for like 3 years before they were, and they were gimmicky. They were dumb looking and didn't really serve a purpose. But when Apple came out with it, nobody made fun of them anymore, and it was like all of a sudden that was like the cool trendy thing to have was a smartwatch.
Smartwatch
And
have
now
credibility.
everybody has one. And granted, I've come to believe in the smartwatches and the health benefits that they offer because they do offer a lot of health benefits and they legitimately do save people's lives. So I'm down with that. But it's just like
Yeah, did you
Go
guys
ahead.
hear about that kid? He was wearing an Apple Watch. He had a heart murmur, and the Apple Watch picked up an irregular heartbeat on his wrist, notified him that he may want to see a doctor, not guaranteed. Ended up going to see the heart doctor, was a more important thing, had a surgery that if he got it later down the road, his life expectancy would have plummeted.
That's a real story.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a real story. You Google it up, like kid finds heart murmur on Apple Watch, and it should be one
Siri.
of the
There's
top
all
titles.
kinds
Good
of
job.
stories about that. There's all kinds of stories like that. And like the Apple
Yeah,
Watch,
it's really cool.
we're getting kind of in the sticks here, but that's okay. The Apple Watch has fall detection. So like my grandmother lives by herself, and she's going through kind of some hard times right now because of her car accident. And, now she's just dealing with a lot of backlash from that. But she lives by herself, and it'd be really good for her because it has fall detection on the Apple Watches.
Like the old school commercial for the life alert. I fall and I can't get up.
But you can't trick this. You can't just be like, oh, I fell, and it triggers it. There's something that happens when you actually fall that only happens when you legitimately fall. So like you can't trick it and make it go off. But if you actually fall, and I've seen it in action, if you actually fall down and you don't get up within like 10 seconds, something like that, the watch will come up and say, have you fallen down, or something like that.
Do you want to call an ambulance?
It'll say, do you want to call an ambulance? And if you don't answer within like 10 more seconds,
Automatic?
it automatically calls emergency services.
That's huge.
Yeah.
All the new Apple Watches, I think since
Samsung,
Series
the
3,
Samsung watches have them.
they have a GPS built in, like an actual satellite GPS, so it'll send your direct location to the police as well. It's sick.
That's cool. I honestly, no lie, I don't have cool smartwatch, right? I figured you get your messages and all this Inspector Gadget stuff.
You do?
No, I'm not. But I thought that was all it was for, and you get your steps, and it was like, okay, sweet, I did 32,000 steps today, yay. Heart
man,
monitor.
it's
that's
legit.
a cool. That's a seriously. I don't mean to make it more grand than it's supposed to sound, but that's seriously a life-saving function of it. That's super beneficial. That's cool. Didn't know that.
This one that I got this for my birthday, the Samsung one. And I haven't tested it yet, so haven't had a chance to do it yet, but this one can do blood pressure monitoring, which not even the Apple Watch can do that yet.
That's cool. When your face lights up, do you know what I think of? I think of like Luke Skywalker in the X-Wing
cool.
when he's like trying to go shoot the torpedo down the Death Star, and he's like, I don't need the monitor, dude. I'm going to use the Force. That's what I think of every time the face comes
But like
out.
I have high blood pressure. I take medicine for it every day. And I have to monitor it with a cuff every day. So I've been waiting for a long time for one of these smartwatches to get blood pressure support, because that's one less thing that I have to do.
Yeah.
I don't have to drag out my cuff and supposedly this, once you set it up, this will alert you if it's getting too high.
So it'll basically constantly, it's an active monitoring. You don't have to be like, oh, let me hit the button for my blood
It
pressure.
monitors it like every
However often.
15 minutes or so.
That's cool. That's dope. I like that.
So yeah, I don't know how we got into all that, but
Talking about new tech for Samsung.
Samsung comes out with some really cool tech. So the iPhones are coming out next month, and I don't got nothing against iPhones. I've used iPhones since the 3GS, so as far back as you can go. But with every iPhone, it's just I feel like it's been the same since 2014, or maybe even longer than that. They come out with little refinements, and they don't really do anything to really push the envelope. And that's okay. I'm not knocking it. For a lot of people, that's fine, and they don't care about it. And obviously, they sell a crap ton of iPhones, so
That they do.
it's not hurting them. But for whatever reason, people knock Samsung a lot, and I don't understand it, because Samsung, I feel like they're the true innovators of today. I feel like they try things, and then usually Apple comes in and refines it, like the watches. And they'll probably do it with the foldables too, because I know Apple's already working on a folding iPhone, and it'll probably be a lot better than the Samsung version. That's usually just how it goes. But iPhones are coming out next month, and I've already read everything about them, and it's basically just if you have an iPhone, you love an iPhone, you're gonna still love an iPhone.
All right, Rob. How are we gonna place our bets now about when Josh swaps over to the iPhone 12? At about $25 on the table that he swaps over within the first 3 weeks. The iPhone flip comes
Wow.
out.
Oh.
Wow.
$25.
Wow. I don't know if I take the over or the under on that. Oof.
So it's gonna. I'll be honest with you.
I'm going to go with
You-
the under.
You probably would be right. It's going to be a little bit harder for me to get out of this phone because I did it through my carrier. I'm on the same plan as my dad. So it's going to be a little bit more locked into this one than I usually buy unlocked phones.
Right, right. I mean, true that. I have an iPhone. I got an iPhone 11.
Good phone.
I was the same exact way. Muchas gracias. I was the same exact way. I only bought unlocked phones, and I only bought them secondhand because I refused to pay full price for a brand new. I got into a dirt bike accident, smashed my phone on my muscle, crushed my muscle on my right leg, bent my phone like that. Had an iPhone 7 Plus.
It's a foldable. It's the first foldable.
It was the first foldable. Yeah, right. Phone was absolutely destroyed. Anyways, I didn't have the time to buy like an iPhone 7 Plus again, like outright. I was like, $300, $400, and I just didn't have that in my pocket. But I was able to buy an iPhone 11 for $30 a month.
It's a good phone.
Yeah, it's a solid phone. So I ended up doing that. So I'm stuck with this guy until I pay it off. Which I could do now. But
Same situation with me.
yeah, I could do it now. I'm gonna stick with it till it's probably done. But man, recently, so I work, in an IT department. We're always dishing out phones. We do 90% iPhones, 10% Android, and we get new S10s, S10 Pluses, or whatever the newest ones are out. We get the rugged versions of those. So I get to see. I'm fortunate enough to see a bunch of them. I've really been going and kind of falling for Samsung recently. Like, I would invest my money in there for the next phone I get. I think because
They make good phones.
I swapped back to Windows too. I was using Mac OS for a little while, which I love. I think it is absolutely, using it at the church, I think that's absolutely great because I can airdrop something from my phone to there, boom.
Good when you have the whole thing working together.
But for my personal use, for school use, Windows just makes so much more sense. And if I'm going to be using Windows, might as well just go to an Android because
I was thinking when you were talking about Samsung had watches out long before Apple kind of splashed the market and made them viable. It's always really hard being the first person on the cutting edge of a technology because you're spending all that time and energy and money in R&D hoping that somebody's interested in it, right? And kind of back to the other episode we were talking about the Apple Glass, right? When it first comes out, it's probably not going to have everything that you could ever want it to have, but it's going to be version 1.0, right? Cool. And you hope it's received. And if it is, whoever comes next on the market is going to innovate off of you.
So Apple Glass is a different equation because usually it honestly usually is Samsung that's first to the game. They usually come out with like some prototype, and it's kind of janky. It is. I mean, it's cool. It's cool, but it's a first generation product.
Sure.
This is the first time I can remember where, if everything happens the way that they've said it's going to happen, this will be the first time that Apple is first to the game with a piece of tech like this. It's usually the other way around. The last time I can think of where they were first to the game would be the iPhone, the original iPhone. They were first. They were pretty much the pioneers of the smartphone.
I mean, before that, everybody and their mom had a BlackBerry. That was before my time, but when I think of...
Dude, I used to think BlackBerries were so cool.
I
dude,
never...
I love BlackBerry.
I was still back in the
Brick
day
breaker.
of... We were talking
Brick
about this the
breaker.
other day of flip phones, and when you wanted to send a text message, you had to 3, 2, set... And it was just way simpler to just go through your phone book and call somebody than it was to text.
So check this out, though. So on the iPhone side, on the Apple side, you have... Here's what you got. You have 4 phones. You have iPhone 12, which is just a small iPhone. You have the iPhone 12 Plus, which is that phone, just upgraded. You have the iPhone 12 Pro, which is also just that phone with more upgrades. Then you have the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is all that with a bigger screen.
It's like a mini iPad.
So yeah, but like, no matter which phone you pick, it's ultimately the same experience. You're not getting a different experience no matter which phone you pick. You're getting slight enhancements, slight upgrades, but your overall experience is the same. With Samsung, it's not really like that. You have Samsung, they got a phone for everybody, man. You can buy, they have the Samsung A series, which is their like $200 entry level phone.
I was gonna say I thought about getting one of those too instead of this iPhone.
So they have the A series, and they got like 7 different models of that phone.
Oh yeah, I was looking at this the other day because Rhonda's phone is kind of, you would talk about a janky phone, and I was like, okay, cool, let's look, because I know that you got this, and I started looking because she likes Android, she doesn't like iPhone, and I was like, okay, I'll get educated on, good, better, best. Dude, they got a ton of different choices. They got lots of models that you can go play with.
Yeah. So
when
they
you want an
got
iPhone, you get
it's iPhone.
You get
It's
iPhone.
That's it.
Change your color, pretty much the same.
You can get a cheap iPhone. You can get
Yeah.
the iPhone SE for $300 or $400.
Yep.
But you're getting the old iPhone 8 design from 2016.
Yeah, arguably iPhone 7 design if you really
Yeah,
want to go back, because
yeah.
the 7 and 8 are theoretically the same
iPhone
thing.
6 design,
minus
if you
the
really
back
want to go all
glass.
the way back. It's almost
Yeah,
the
it's
same.
the same thing as the 6, but that's a aluminum back.
but-
When I
yeah.
looked at all the different, because I was looking at the A series, because I was talking to Rhonda about, what do you want to spend on a phone, and like.
But even the A series, you can go. They have so A series is the budget option,
Mm-hmm.
but they give you a range from ultra budget, like $200, like I just cracked the crap out of my
I
phone. I need a
just need a
phone
phone.
today.
Yeah,
You can go get that, but you can go all the way up to like the A.
60.
No,
I
they
saw
got
they have 70.
A71 now.
Oh, A70 now?
Yeah, I was
And
looking
that's-
between the 51s and the 70s.
The 71 is, dude, it's almost.
It was I was looking at that. It was like maybe $600.
Yeah.
And for for what you got for that price level, I was like, wow, okay, that's not bad. I was looking at between like the $200 and $300 options to the what I would consider mid-level, $500 and $600, right?
Mid-level.
And I was like, okay, but it still. I don't know if I should say it, but it still had balls. It still had something to it, right? It was a hefty phone for what you were putting into it. I was very surprised.
So you got the A series, and you got a wide variety of choices there. But you got people that want to flex a little bit, and they don't want just a budget phone. So then you can either get the S10 series or the S20 series. You can still buy the S10, brand new, and the S10, last year's phone, is still a flagship.
It's very prevalent today. Like,
Still a really good phone.
yeah, that's what we get through our department.
S10s.
Yeah, the S10s, because everybody's going to S20 now, so we get S10s for like a killer price.
Yeah, so you can get S10s. If you want to flex a little bit more, you can get S20, and you got 3 different S20s to pick from. You got S20, S20 Plus, S20 Ultra with the Alpha Omega 100 times zoom. You can zoom into heaven with that thing.
Do you have that extra zoom on yours
This
here?
has got 50 times zoom.
Can
I
you-
can't
50
get
times.
quite to heaven, but I can zoom into the moon. Probably pretty good.
Gotcha.
Can you zoom to your house from here?
Okay, check this out. Check this out. So
We're going to have to get like a second camera to show what Josh does on these tangents.
this is cool. All right, so this is me standing outside of my backyard.
Yep.
Right? See that? I'm outside my porch.
Okay, yep.
Look at that house way back in the distance.
Yeah, that's way back there.
House way back in the distance.
Okay, yep.
All right. This is the same spot, 50 times zoom. The same, I didn't move at all. 50 times zoom.
It honestly
That's
looks
dangerous.
like you're parked across the cul-de-sac from them.
Wow.
Same spot.
On a
I didn't
phone
move at
camera.
all. 50 times zoom.
That's pretty clear, dude. I would expect it to be mad grainy,
Grainy.
super pixelated.
That's the S20.
Looks like Super Mario
That's
on
the
NES.
100 times alpha. You can zoom into the window with that phone. Kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's
Kinda
super
creepy.
You see have you seen the ad where they like zoom into the blimp? And they,
Oh
like,
yeah. They
it
go.
goes
They go into
doom,
the balloon
doom,
and the top of the
then
mountain.
whoom, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you zoom in like super far on this
Right.
phone,
Changes lenses.
So like it puts this little window here because you can't even tell what you're looking at this point.
Oh,
You
right.
get like a window
Oh, true.
so you
that.
can see what you're pointing at.
Oh, that's
Man, go Samsung.
That's dope, man.
That's pretty dope.
Samsung.
Think of everything.
That's like being a scout sniper and having your other eye open so you can watch your peripherals while you're looking through the scope.
Biggest thing though, 120 hertz refresh rate.
I'm
Wow.
jealous, man.
120 hertz refresh rate. And you got iPhone 12s coming out this year. All 4 models, all 4 of them that are shipping. This is so ignorant.
Yeah.
That are shipping with 120 hertz displays because they already paid for them.
Oh, yeah, we
but
talked
they're
about this.
deactivated.
Ah.
Come on, Apple.
What I get and I don't get there is that they're capable, right? But maybe not stable. And so they turned it off.
That's 120 hertz refresh rate on your iPad.
Dude, I don't even want to talk about my iPad because looking when you brought your iPad looks way more dope than mine. And I know it's
the same.
I know you said that before. I just feel like
It's literally the same exact.
mine's
iPad.
the
I
janky
think you
version.
guys should I think you should swap iPads with Rob, but don't let him know. Like I'll distract him on the drums
I'm
one
still
day.
gonna look at him and be like, Josh has a better display than mine.
Exactly.
He'd be like, it's your iPad, dude.
And then see if he swaps, like you swap the iPads and like see if he.
He even
still
got me
says
the
that.
cool background. I'm like, the background's cool. The background's dope. You know what I don't do?
Maybe
I
you
don't,
just, turn your brightness up.
Ah.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's looks way nicer now.
There you go. That's your problem.
5 minutes from now when my battery's dead, I'm gonna yell at you.
So, all right. So we're not done yet though. So you got the budget models
Yep.
and like 10 of those. You got the S10 model from last year. You got the S20 models from this year. You got the Note 20, and you got 2 of those. You got the Note 20 and the Note 20 Ultra. And you get the pen and the more boxy design.
Basically, Samsung's like, how much money do you have in your pocket? I have a phone for you.
And then to go even further, you got the foldables. And there's like 3 of those.
I was gonna say you have like what Samsung's horizontal foldable. You have their vertical foldable phone
So yeah, you can do hot dog style or hamburger style fold.
on your foldable.
Whatever you
phone.
want to do. Basically, Samsung has positioned themselves where they could be like, okay, you got $100 in your pocket, or you got $3,000 in your
I got a
pocket,
phone.
and you're
Here's
going to
something
spend
you
it
can-
on a phone.
Yeah.
I got a phone for you, no matter where you are in that spectrum. And Apple's just like, well, you only got $400. You can have this old phone
Rebadged,
with
basically.
with a new processor, and if you got like several more $100, you can have this phone. Nothing wrong with the phone. Nothing wrong with the phone at all. But you can have this phone, and then we'll save the 2 big boys for the people that want to spend well over $1,000.
Or like where the people's parents have gobbles of money, and then like you're that left out kid in the high school or like middle school who doesn't have the iPhone 12 Pro
It's for-
XS Max.
And I'm not, like I said, I'm not knocking Apple. There's a solid chance I'll be back on Apple within the year. It's a solid chance that'll happen.
$25.
I might actually take
But-
you up on that, but I'm taking the under.
But-
I just think about when Matt was saying about, he broke his phone and he needed a phone today. Cool, man. I'm just going to get this, pay it off, it'll be done. And in a minute, I'll go back to the other phone. The expensive phone, if you don't want to pay for it outright and you don't get an unlocked version, your choice is basically $30, $40, $50 a month to your carrier till it's paid off 2 years later. It's funny, though, in a world of unlimited choices, right? Like your Jeep, if you were to buy a new Jeep right now,
This is how you get to the cars talk.
I'm going to sprinkle it in there, right? Hold on, man. Don't cut me off at the knees already. Dang, I didn't even get there. Whew. Simmer down now. If you go on Jeep's website and you want to go buy a brand new Jeep, a Wrangler, and you look, there's got to be 8, 10 different model options. Each model option comes with different top configurations, hard top, soft top, whatever. You get 2, if not 3 engine choices, colors,
Yep.
wheels,
Uh-huh.
all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So when I think about cars and all the choices you get, and other stuff that's not cars and all the choices you get, right? Samsung's giving people what they're asking for, a variety of different choices at entry level and beyond. And Apple's basically like, we're going to be here at the top end, Or if you want like last year's model that we've kind of refurbished a little bit, we'll put you in the middle.
Yep. So we started out the topic of whether or not this phone is worth $1,300, and I saw another tech YouTuber, Flossie Carter, say this. So that's an awesome channel, by the way, tech channel. So I'm just gonna kind of riff off of what he said. He said that most people don't make enough money to upgrade their car every year. You can't upgrade your car. Very few people can.
I can't think about paying off my truck in a year's time. No.
Yeah. He said most people can't afford to upgrade their car every year.
I'm proud of you for having car talk.
But he said that, I'm really paraphrasing what he said, but he said something like, but a lot of people can afford to upgrade their phone every year. So if that's something that you enjoy and it's something that you look forward to, it's your life, it's your money, you do you. Is it worth $1,300 for a lot of people? Probably not.
They say that's what, like a 3 or a 4-year contract, paying $30 a month, right?
Yeah. So yeah. So if you keep it for 3 years, then you paid $500 a year for the phone, basically.
Right.
So when you think of it like that, it's not so bad. But for me, I kind of look at it as a whole picture. And I just disassemble the whole phone, look at what it can do. It's got a camera that can compete with a DSLR.
High-end DSLRs, yeah.
Now, would you use this at a wedding to take professional? No, you'd use a
but-
DSLR. But could you go on vacation and not have to bring your point and shoot camera? You just bring this and get the same quality picture.
Probably 10 times better. I mean,
close.
I could go sit in the nosebleeds and go get Tom Brady's face like he's
Yeah.
standing in front of me.
So when you
ground
look at
level.
it like that, you look at it that for some people it can replace their computer. It's got your audio built in. It's you can use it as it's got a huge screen, yada yada yada. I feel like you can make what do you expect this phone to cost with all those features? When you can dunk this phone to water for like 2 hours. It's just fine.
and shoot 8K video.
Shoot 8K video, which nobody's gonna be doing anytime soon, but it can do it. Yeah.
For the dollar amount that it costs, for the for the full capabilities, whether you use them or not, totally worth it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those infomercials on a Saturday for one of those cooking things, and they're like, you get rid of all of this stuff for this one thing, and it costs $100.
And for the 10 people or 20 people or however many people say that it's not worth it, well, you got 25 other phones
Samsung gives you
that they don't have every single feature that this one does, but they got a lot of the features. It might not have the pin. It might not have wireless charge. It might not have IP rating where you can dunk underwater, but it's got everything else for $300 or $400 cheaper.
Let's do it.
That's a go.
if you truly just want to make phone calls, text, and occasionally surf the web, none wrong with a $200 phone that doesn't have all the bells and whistles.
Yeah. And I used the Fold for a little bit, and this I can tell you 100%. This phone so far, this is probably the most powerful phone I've ever used.
Dude,
But it
yeah.
should be
Yeah.
for what it is. It should be.
Absolutely.
All right. Any last words on Samsung talk?
Not necessarily on the phone. I'll say long before I got my iPad, I had laptops for the longest time, right? I figured I was going to miss my optical drives. I figured I was going to miss my USB drives, like all the things that a laptop had that my iPad didn't. And I'll tell you, I think for the dollar that this thing is super, super powerful for
a good
the
example.
portability of it. I don't miss my optical drive because everything is, comes downloadable now. I don't miss my USB for a little thumb drive and stuff like that. Like,
But you can use that on that.
I can.
It's got USB Type-C.
It has all of the things that I thought I would miss and need, I didn't need. And in fact, this thing replaced my laptop to the point where I would have to be talked into buying a laptop
You get the Magic Keyboard.
to do
It is a laptop.
to do what I need.
It literally is a laptop with
Yeah.
a Magic Keyboard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I think you could expedite everything, and we're really stepping away from computers, except for like gaming and video production. I think at this point in time, the only thing that you need a real computer for is if you're a gamer and you want that, or if you work in, some kind of big business, at that office, or maybe working from home, or you're going to be, video editing or
Some sort of design.
photography edit. Shoot, man, it's coming down to, they're like, photography editing, you could do pretty much everything on an iPad. You can get Lightroom on your iPad.
Video edit with
Let's say-
LumaFusion.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a lot of stuff you do now to get like Hollywood quality or like something like that. Like, you guys know who Peter McKinnon is? All right, well, he's awesome dude.
For those of you on the audio only, that's me shaking my head no.
Yeah, so like to do something Peter McKinnon is trying to do or something, can't get away with it on an iPad. But if you're gonna go on a trip or something, like shoot, man, like I used to always want to bring my laptop with me where I go, just to have, that to watch a video on or something. Now I'm okay with getting away with my iPhone 11 and just working with that. Like the only thing that I still don't love about the iPhone 11 is the Files application. I think it's still kind of buggy. I mean, I've gotten around with it, but like I can use Google Drive for everything. I pay like $1 a month to get like 100 gigabytes of this
Yeah,
stuff.
see, the Files app on Apple is like half baked. It's like
Right.
it's halfway there, but
They just don't want to open it up.
like
I
not to shove it down, but like on here.
Not to
you
shove it,
have
but
a
here it
true
comes.
File system.
Right.
Like you can go into my files, and I can go into the internal storage, and it's just like on Windows. I've got all my folders. I can go into the subfolders. I don't have anything in there,
Right.
but if I had something in there, I
And
can
you
go.
can just, and like
I can
when you
move
plug
things
that
around.
into your computer
got
computer
USB
will
Type
see
C.
those
Yep.
files.
It brings it up like a flash drive.
Exactly, and that's what I love because you could drop ringtones in.
Yeah.
Compared to you doing it on iPhone.
And you
It
can put
is-
in
It is a
external
mess.
storage.
Yeah, and
So I've got an SD card on here as well, and I can go in there and
That's where I feel like Apple phoned it in. Like they put the file there
it's halfway
just
there.
to say that they did it, but it's
Right.
not as functional as it ought to be.
It's not fine.
half baked is the best terminology that I've heard about that. So,
Halfway there.
in conclusion on this topic, I will trade you my iPhone 11 for a fair trade for your S20.
You should do it because if you do, then that puts me in the winner column and I get Matt's $25.
You should make sure that our podcast is still recording.
Okay.
So while Matt does that,
Talk amongst yourselves.
Can we segue into the next topic because it kind of builds off of this one?
Yes.
Can we talk about AMD and Intel and the
Oh, guys, bad news. I'm just kidding.
you didn't save 15% on your insurance by switching to
Still
Geico?
alive, still good.
All right, so our second topic is we're going to talk about.
Well, my moonwalking through frame. They can't see my feet, so it doesn't matter.
If you slow it down right there,
How-
it looks like you're super dope.
Hold on, I have a perfect transition.
Yeah?
We're going to talk about how the turntables have.
Turned?
Turned?
Wiki?
Do you guys not watch The Office?
No.
Oh,
Sorry, just
Thi-
like season
thi-
1 and 2.
This is like where you did this to me the other day, and you're like, is it Alfred's Pizza or Pizza by Alfred or whatever, or Alfredo? I don't even know.
Alfredo's Pizza Cafe
Or,
or Pizza by Alfredo.
yeah, I didn't get
There's a
it.
part in The Office where Michael walks in and he's gonna shove something in somebody's face, and he's like, "How the turntables?" He gets the joke like completely wrong. How the tables turn. Anyway, that was horrible.
Jokes are never good when you have to explain them.
They're not. Scratch that.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to talk about
That was a perfect segue, by the
how,
way. Thanks.
how the turntables have turned for Intel. You know, Intel used to be like, that
Yeah.
used to be it.
They were it.
That was it. AMD was like, oh, you got AMD?
Like you went to the dollar store and got it. It's bad.
It was like Pepsi versus Coke.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
It was like Burger King versus McDonald's.
Bro, I just
It was
built...
like Kmart versus Walmart.
Oh.
Oh, gotcha.
Back in the day, Kmart was all I had.
Do you remember
dude.
Kmart?
What's a store that you have to drive to. Amazon Prime, man. I
I feel like Matt
never
just
have to
burned
go to
both
the
of
store.
us.
All right, so Intel, what's y'all's take?
I'll let you go first because I can go on and on about this.
Ooh. Every gaming rig that I've ever built, so 4 or 5 at this point in my lifetime, every single one of them have been Intel. Not that I haven't looked at AMD, but it just, for the dollar, AMD was super cheap.
Right.
But I always felt like they were unstable, unreliable, just second tier. And I've always gone with Intel's. And so I've never bought when like the new chipset came out, right? Like the new technology. I never bought it because the CPUs were like stupid expensive. Like you could drop $600, $700, $800 on a CPU by itself.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, you're like, I know I did.
Well, yeah.
But and so thinking about trying to build like a reasonably budget system, like I always built mine for gaming, right? Love games. So I was big on, I want to make sure that I don't have a whole lot of lag in my system, and I want to make sure that my frame rates are good. So like it all kind of has to work together, and I didn't really want to bottleneck. So I personally had to make some sacrifices all the way around, but I always went with Intel chipsets. I saw a lot of other gaming buddies that I played with that did AMDs and overclocked theirs, and they ended up burning up their systems. But it was also at the onset of liquid cooling, which super freaked me out about having something get all over my system. But I'll tell you honestly, long-term fan of Intel, but with the advances of AMD and their technology basically outpacing Intel, Intel has found themselves sitting back on their heels, and I think that they're going to lose a considerable amount of market share because they're not the leading technology for the dollar. That's my opinion.
And the icing on the cake there is the fact that Apple has literally abandoned Intel with their computers. They're
Yep.
not going to use them anymore.
Yep.
So they're going to use their own Apple silicon.
For sure. Yeah, I built my first computer ever built handful of months ago, maybe 3 months ago max. I haven't put more than like 20 hours on it, if that. But anyways, I've always been an Intel fan. All my laptops before, I never had a desktop. I always went with laptops because I had like literally dial-up speed internet at my house. I was making like 0.5 meg download speed up until like 5 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and whenever I wanted to upload something, I'd either have to throw it on a thumb drive, go somewhere where there's fast internet, plug it in, or I could just take my laptop with me and do it there. So I always did that. I always had a laptop for that reason. Now I got fast internet, well, 25 megabyte download speed, so arguably not fast at all, but for me, that's plenty of speed.
It's a huge upgrade.
Yeah, and 2 megabyte upload, which is, slow, but we're over cable, but it's workable. You can work off of that. Anyways, built my first computer, and I wasn't really sure where to start, so I reached out to one of my friends in our IT department that I work in, and he's like, yeah, man, you got to go with the new AMD Ryzen. I was like, AMD? Heck no. I was like, I got some money to spend. And I told him at first I had like $1,200 to spend on a PC. I ended up spending close to $2,000 on it. But I was like, build now and then not have to upgrade for a little while. But when I was doing all of that, he was like, AMD. I was like, AMD's for like cheapos. I was like, I'm not doing that. He's like, no, you got to check out this new Ryzen series. I was like, Ryzen? What's that? So I ended up going with the Ryzen 3900X. I just ran some benchmarks on it. Literally today, we were sitting there running some benchmarks. We have, during our lunch break, we pulled up TeamViewer. I remoted into my computer from home, and we were running benchmarks on it just for fun, to kill our lunch break time, because we have to take a lunch break time. And man, compared to Intel stuff, it would compare it to Intel's. Some of Intel's i9s, I was smoking on speeds, smoking them on tasks and everything. And I was like, wow. And I think that CPU, I think it was like, when I bought it, it was like $499. I mean, it was either $499 or $399.
It's an expensive component.
That is. When he told me that, I was like, when he gave me my first component, because I wasn't sure where to start. I didn't know I knew all the components of PCs, but I didn't know what spoke to what. Like I didn't know this CPU will speak to this motherboard, and this motherboard will accept this graphics card. So I really relied on his guidance for that. And he's probably built 20 or 30 PCs. So with that said, I just let him take it all under, and that computer has been the quickest. I got like a GTX 2070 Super in there, so it blazing fast. I can run stuff like Minesweeper, pinball.
You forgot solitaire. You don't play solitaire?
That's a little bit graphic
Oh,
intensive.
it's intensive. Yeah.
Only
I
on
know.
low settings.
Yeah.
I can do that. No,
The
I'm
problem
kidding.
with the i9, like, okay, so 7 years ago, or maybe even longer than that, it was like you had i3 processor, i5 processor, i7, and that was basically like low, medium, and high, right? If you want a powerful machine, you got i7, and if you didn't care about it, then you got either an i5 or you got an i5, and if you want trash, you got like an i3.
I feel like that's going with the Celeron processors. That's how I felt.
No, the
about
i3s they were basically like the new Celeron processor.
They were the new Celeron. Yes, absolutely. That's how I look at them.
They were like they didn't call them Celeron anymore. They called them i3.
They
So-
needed a new moniker.
And for a long time that worked. You know, they just kept upgrading and upgrading and upgrading. But the problem that Intel has had is they're stuck on, like, I think they're still stuck on 14 nanometer technology. And are y'all familiar with
Yep.
how that works?
Yep.
I'm not. No.
So, nanometer is it's basically how many transistors are in the chip, and how thin the chip is. So, the more transistors you have in a chip, the cooler that it runs. The more efficient it is. It's less power. It's less. It demands less power. It runs cooler, and you combine those two things, it runs a lot faster. The problem that Intel has had is AMD run. I think they're even under 10 nanometers now.
I thought they were 8s.
Yeah, I think they're either 8 or 7. So the chip that you have in yours,
Do a quick Google search. Keep talking.
it's probably
That's what I'm
it's
working
probably
on.
either a 10 nanometer or a 7 or 8 nanometer chip. But even the current 10th gen Intel processors, like the i9 for example, which sounds like a super powerful chip on paper, it's a 14 nanometer chip, which is like circa 2015 at this point. So what Intel has been doing is instead of getting underneath on the nanometers and getting more power efficient,
Right.
they just shove more cores into it.
More
Right.
cores.
So
more
now
cores.
you have like, oh, you can spend $3,000 and you can get a 45 core i9 processor, and it sounds like mega powerful, but all those cores do is just make it run more hot and less efficient. And so it's powerful on paper, but
The-
it's kind of like in Dragon Ball Z. This is a weird transition here, but it's kind of like in Dragon Ball Z. If you guys have watched the show, it's kind of like when Trunks goes into the Super Saiyan, but he bulks his muscles up when he's fighting Cell, and he bulks his muscles up, and Cell basically, he's the villain. He basically says, yeah, you're way stronger than me right now, like way stronger than me, but you'll never be able to catch me. Like I'm way faster than you, and you'll never be able to beat me no matter how strong you are if you can't catch me. And that's kind of where Intel is right now. They're like the bulky Super Saiyan, and yeah, they could probably crush an AMD processor
Right.
if they had every other duck in a row.
Exactly, and it also comes down to like, that's a good analogy. I don't know Dragon Ball Z that well, really at all. I played like Xbox
Josh
when I was
nailed
like
it.
13 for a minute.
He nailed it. Nailed it.
But when you get that, it depends what you want your processor to do. Like when I built my PC, I wanted it for video editing because that was kind of a hobby I was going into. I still am a little bit. Unfortunately, I just don't have that much time to really mess around with it at the moment, being in school and everything again. But when I first started building, yeah, it's like, oh, funny, pick fun at AMD. Like, oh, I'm not going to go with that. But also, Premiere was optimized for Intel processors. So
True.
when I was told, hey, you're going to use an AMD processor, after I told them that, hey, this is what I'm going for, it's like, why wouldn't I go Intel over AMD? And he laid out some points, which made sense. But depending on what you're doing, say if you're just doing editing on Premiere or a program that's based solely for a Intel processor, you still may want to go Intel. Even though they're slower, they may be optimized for something, so strength building over speed.
So I'm looking on Wikipedia, and the latest i9 chipset came out April of this year. It is
So it showed nanometer size?
14.
Yeah, so I thought they were still on
14
14.
nanometers.
So, yeah,
14
mine's
is circa 2015. What's
10
yours?
10
Seven.
So he's a 7. That's half.
So April of 2020, 10 cores,
Dude, that's like a huge
14
difference.
nanometer. You go back to 2017 when the 9 series came out, so 3 years back, it was still
14?
14. And along the way, they've added some more cores here. You get into
add
the
cores.
you-
That's
you-
what they do.
You get into the i9 Extreme series. That's like the top end, and there's some more cores. But realistically, they haven't changed technology.
So, like, I'll give you a good example. These are both Intel machines. But it just came out like last month. The new 2020 $2,000 iMac outperforms the 2-year-old $5,000 iMac Pro. The iMac Pro should slaughter
Should.
a $2,000 iMac, even a new one. It should slaughter it.
For that dollar amount, even that, I say that long ago, for that dollar amount, the high end, a few years back, it should maintain its supremacy over new technology, not at the same level, for at least 3, 4, maybe 5 years. To not, you've wasted your money.
And
Like,
the reason
goofy.
Apple has gone away from Intel is Intel is holding Apple back. Literally, Intel is holding Apple back at this point because I guarantee you, when Apple comes out with their new computers at the end of this year that are powered by their own chips, it's going to be an insane. It's not going to be just a. People are thinking like, oh, it's going to be like a minuscule upgrade or a small upgrade. No, it's going to be like, it's going to be a quantum leap.
I'm
And-
excited to see
and
where it goes.
It's going to be a major difference.
when we were talking the other episode about new consoles, a new Xbox, a new PlayStation, are those powered by Intel?
No, both consoles
Both are
AMD.
AMD, yeah.
That tells you a lot right there.
Yeah,
That
both
tells me a
consoles are
lot
AMD.
right there.
I don't think Intel's gonna make it.
We talked about this off air the other
on
week.
Discord, yeah.
Yeah, about how Intel doesn't necessarily. Well, we're speculating, we're theorizing that Intel doesn't really care about all of that with losing for Apple or losing for Xbox and PlayStation because it's a small percentage of their overall revenue for the year, right? But if you give that up, if you give that ground and you give AMD or fill in non-existent company right now room to take into that market, that helps them with their R&D. That helps them build a brand name. That helps them have people realize, wow, AMD's not this crappy build a budget system. It actually, it's a real component.
Yeah, AMD is the real deal. They are the real deal at this point.
I feel like Intel was on top for so long that they just kind of rested on it, and they're just like, let's just keep churning out clones.
I don't know why they've been stuck on 14 nanometer for so long. I don't understand it.
They didn't corporate sabotage the right people from AMD and put
they
them on
have
the payroll.
they have the money in the
Oh, they
bank
totally
to,
have
to
the
do
money.
this to get it done.
Totally have the money.
I don't know what caused them to not get there.
Got to be some inside thing, going in on an Intel. I don't know, but that's what my prediction
But
is.
I mean, look at that comparison though. Your 7 nanometer chip compared to this year's i9 on a 14. That's a.
And maybe it's just Intel's like, hey, we want to get out of the market for this. Maybe they're going something else. That's the only thing that I can think of because no company would slack like Intel did to let those two companies take over. Something had to happen for Intel to say, hey, let's back out. Because Intel had everything. Our trash talking of Intel right now is what people were trash talking AMD
Yep.
3, 4, 5 years ago. They're like,
Yep.
AMD's going to be the next like Bio or Toshiba or.
What I don't get is in an industry where you constantly have to innovate and put out the next best product, how do you go down that path for so long where your competition's going somewhere else and they put out a better product? I won't use the word superior just yet, but it's a better product.
Right.
When do you say, oh snap, we went down this road too long, now we need to play catch up?
Yeah. So like, real quick, going back to our previous topic just for a second. So with like Samsung and Apple, you have a healthy competition. They're both in the game. They're both doing very well. They both
Have big following.
You know, Apple, they don't bring as much to the table. They bring more refinements, but they still do something different every year, and neither one of them is really leaving each other behind. And that's the kind of competition you want. Because if you just have one and they monopolize their genre, then that opens the door for, okay, well, they have to buy us now. So now we can chill. Now we can fill up the gas.
As a consumer, it's not good for us. You
Yeah.
want that competition because you're forcing them to innovate.
So if
to
you
get new stuff.
so if you take it back to this, I mean, you could make an argument that AMD could compete against Apple, but I don't know because Apple is Apple. You can't put an Apple silicon chip in anything that's not an Apple machine.
I don't think Apple would allow it to happen. That would be
But
weird.
if Intel goes away, then you only have AMD.
I'm
And
I'm curious to see what happens about what you just said, Rob, because like there's people out there who have built like a Hackintosh. You ever heard of those?
Hackintosh.
So it's
No, I need an education. What the heck's that?
yeah. So to cut it down simple, basically they just build a PC, but they on Apple's website they give you all the requirements that you need to have something that runs Mac OS. So like you need an Intel processor. You can't run Mac OS on an AMD processor. I don't know why, but that's just how it is.
Don't communicate.
Gotcha. So you have that. You also have to have certain graphics cards, certain motherboard.
Drivers have to match up to what. You basically have to build your own.
You need to have the
Mac
physical
computer.
components that would be in a Mac, but you can buy them off the shelf from like Newegg.
Exactly. You
Okay.
can buy them off the shelf off Newegg, and there's requirements, but you can exceed those requirements, right, and buy nicer components. So say just like a minimum requirement being that you need an NVIDIA graphics card with these drivers on it. You can get 2080 Super if you wanted to,
Okay.
which is like
I'm
crazy
on
great.
board so
So
far.
theoretically, the idea of a Hackintosh, because I know that's coming up, is what's the point of this? The idea of a Hackintosh is that if you know what you're doing, you can theoretically build. I'm not going to say a better computer than Apple can build, but you can build something that's more catered to what you want to do. Like you could build an Apple computer that's also a gaming computer as well.
Right. You could do that.
That's the idea.
If you're doing like audio production and now that's the thing though, once you install Mac OS, you're not going to be able to continually update it. So if you're on Sierra, if you build a Hackintosh for High Sierra, you're not going to be able to upgrade to a Mojave or what's the new one coming out? Big Sur?
Won't be able to build a Hackintosh at all with Big Sur.
Yeah, because you got those new chips coming out. But say you're building a rack-mounted mixer and you want Mac OS to run Pro Presenter 7 or 6, whatever's out at the time, and like your X32 software, M32 software, or Yamaha's CL software, boom, you could do that there and have it up, and you're good to go there. So that's where you see Hackintoshes typically built, or your typical YouTube consumer. But I'm interested to see somebody build the first Hackintosh with these chipsets.
How to be able to do it.
Do you make the assumption that when Apple puts out their new chipset that it's going to be commercially available?
No, it won't
but-
be. It
yeah.
won't be. It will not be.
Yeah, see, I don't expect it to be either.
Their
Okay.
chipsets won't be able to be, I don't think. But the people who are making Apple's chipsets, I believe, are going to sell chipsets. They already sell chipsets right now. So I'm sure you could go buy one of those.
So it
and
wouldn't
find
have
a
an
way to
Apple
load
name; it'd be
macOS
like a
on it.
generic name.
So like, check this out. So when Apple did the presentation on Big Sur, they showed it off, the whole thing. They spent like 45 minutes, or maybe even longer, maybe like an hour, just showing the different features. They were going all through the operating system. You know, here's this, here's that, here's how you do this, here's this change, here's that change, here's what we did here, here's what we did there. I mean, they went in depth. It wasn't like just a little sneak peek.
teaser,
It was
yeah.
like an in-depth presentation showing all kinds of stuff. And then like an hour into the presentation, they announced that they were switching to Apple Silicon and not using Intel anymore. Then, just to kick everybody in the teeth, they come back and they're like, yeah, we would show you a demo of this, but we actually already did. And they showed that the computer that they were showing the Big Sur demo on,
was on the Apple Silicon.
and it was using the same chip that's in your iPad. Same exact chip
That's pretty cool.
that's in this iPad. Running full Mac OS.
Hi there,
Big
little
Sur,
guy.
And no fan, no nothing. Just that chip.
Wow.
It had more RAM, but other
But
than
that's
that,
about it. Yeah.
it was just an iPad chip. And
That's
so-
really cool to see. Like, you know, the old MacBooks that were released, not the MacBook Air, not the MacBook Pro, but the MacBook
Yeah.
that was released in 2015.
Yeah, that used the
was,
fanless.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was running off of an iPhone chip or an iPad chip or something.
No, it was an Intel chip, but
No,
it
it wasn't an Intal chip. It was it was an Intel chip.
was an Intel
Yep.
M series chip.
Yeah, and it was like 1.1
Yeah.
gigahertz or something.
But what I was going to say was that when Apple switched from PowerPC to Intel 10 years ago, they did the same thing, the exact same thing. They announced it, spent like an hour talking about it, and then they said, surprise, the whole demo we were using,
You just saw it.
we were using a Pentium chip, an Intel Pentium chip, which was like the weakest chip that you could get back then. And then when the new Apple computers came out, they were using like a way more powerful Intel chip. So my point was that they did all this showing it running off of an iPad chip. So imagine what the real thing is going to look like when they actually, because they're not going to put an iPad chip in their computers. They're going
Right.
to put a real chip that
Something
they've been
beefy.
working on.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, if an iPad chip can run full Mac OS Big Sur, full throttle, just imagine
What a better chip would do.
what an actual laptop design or desktop design chip. And they said they're going all in on this. They said that within 2 years they're going to put these Apple chips. You know the Mac Pro. You can spend
Right.
$60,000 on it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So they're
Is
gonna
that the cheese grater one we talked about?
But they're going to put a chip in that computer that can compete with what's in there now. I mean, think about that.
that's
And
wild.
it's going to be way more powerful than it is now. And it's a beast already.
Can I take it to a car level for a minute? That's like going into like the 24-hour Le Mans or F1 racing and taking that technology and putting it into your everyday boring
Toyota
sedan.
Camry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just doing some more research. Have you guys ever heard of ARM processors?
ARM. That's
So-
basically what Apple Silicon
I was gonna
is.
say, so yeah, that's the technology behind Apple Silicon. So I wouldn't be surprised if ARM, unless they make a deal with Apple, comes out and says, hey, here are processors that you can, because they're getting into the Apple market. If I was ARM, I would also want to get into the PC market and say, hey, we'll give a contract with Apple, but we're still going to sell products to PC
Apple
users.
Silicon is actually contracted from ARM. They're using the ARM architecture. What they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if ARM
So
is going to
so
create
ARM
a processor.
I mean, they could
for
They
Windows.
could.
Depending on how
It's a stretch.
well, considering all the stuff that's going on with Apple and Epic and everything, I would suggest that those contracts, when they negotiated them, Apple probably asked for some sort of exclusivity for a minute, but it'll come. Interesting.
All right. Any last thoughts on?
I'm blown away because as much as I thought that I knew about this topic that we were going to talk about, all that stuff's super cool to me.
Last words. I got an iPhone 11 here that I'll trade you for your S20.
All right.
I will give you some of the $25 that I win from Matt if you go back to iPhone.
All right. So shout out to everyone that is watching on the live stream.
Hi-oh.
Thank you for
Thank
watching.
you for your support of our podcast. We do this podcast every 2 weeks, and so we'll be back again 2 weeks from now. Shout out to those of you that are listening audio only, that like the classic talk show in your car, driving down the road to work or whatever. Thank you for your support, whether you're listening 2 days from now or 2 weeks from now or 2 years from now.
Or listening to this one for the third time because it's the third episode and it's your first favorite.
But thank you guys for checking us out. We're going to go into our Christ culture discussion for today, which is I got this thinking about what we were kind of joking about the other day, and that is well, hold on, I've lost it now.
So while he does that, we're going to talk about cars. So I got an opportunity. One of my buddies
That was
has.
nice.
Josh is like, I found it.
Oh, you found it? All right, we'll talk about that afterwards. Next podcast. Check it out. If you like cars, please tune in to the next podcast.
Matt and Rob take over. Josh is going to go take a break.
So I figured we have a little discussion on church theatrics.
You kind of got to set up how we got onto this topic. Like
All right, so I'll sum it up with 2 words. Benny Hinn.
you could drop the mic and just fade to the video we were watching. So the other day we were around church for practice, and we got up here and we were talking about just old school wrestling and gimmicks, and somehow we got into outlandish things, and we got to talking about Benny Hinn, and Matt had asked about,
Who's Benny Hinn?
And I
Who's Benny
said,
Hinn?
who's Benny? I still don't even know his last name.
Hinn.
and so
Hinn.
Oh,
Cluck.
Benny Hinn.
Benny Hinn.
Hinn,
Hen.
Hinn, Hinn,
Oh, Hin.
Hinn.
I gotcha.
And-
I got it now.
And so ultimately, the best way to describe Benny
That's not
Hinn,
his real name. His real name is like Benny Hinn.
dude. Benny Hanna is a Japanese cook in front of you place, man. His name's not Benny Hanna.
It's something like that.
You want egg with noodle?
All right, sorry.
And so the best way to describe Benny Hinn, for those of you who don't know, is Google Benny Hinn, and I, as funny as this, or as punny as this is, Benny Hinn's greatest hits. And when it hits you, or you watch him hit people, it's hey there, little lizard. It's funny. And so Josh is, as I'm showing Matt, and Matt's like, what in the world is this? Josh is like, you got to do the one with drowning pool in the background with the bodies hit the floor. And dude, I ain't gonna lie, I lost it for like a good 3.5 minutes between that and old school wrestling gimmicks with Hacksaw Jim Duggan just walking around and big thumbs up. It was great. So getting into the whole theatrics of everything, I think it's a great topic with that in mind.
But I'm not here to have a cute podcast. I want to ask the hard questions. We're always going to ask the hard questions on this podcast.
Was his jacket Gucci or Versace? I no idea. It
All
was
right, so
pricey.
here's the hard question. How do I even present this question?
How does hitting people with your
I'm
fist bring people to
looking at it
Jesus?
from the other side. So, okay, so someone who goes to that church and that's the only church they've ever gone to. And they're brought up to believe that.
That's how it's done.
That's how it's done.
Everywhere on the planet.
Everywhere. What am I trying to ask here? How does God look at that and judge someone in the same way that he judges? I'm not asking the question right, but I don't know how to phrase it. Because like someone who's, if I only see things from one dimension, I don't have anything to compare it to,
Sure.
right?
If I was brought up Amish and didn't have electricity and a phone, and I would think that that's how the rest of the world is.
Right.
Sure.
So if someone doesn't know better, how can they be judged by the same?
If you
Told
don't,
you, I'm here to ask the
if you
hard
don't
question.
know God and you don't know Jesus because nobody ever spoke a word to you, are you still a sinner? Man, fundamentally in my book, yes, but that's because I know better.
Hard questions.
No, that's a deep question. Ultimately, in God's eyes, I would speculate yes. So not knowing.
I want to hear from the scholar, Matthew.
Man, you got my gears grinding in my head. If
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
So I think if to kind of dive into that first question you asked, if you were raised up in that church, you know, I was raised in a Presbyterian church, and now I'm part of a non-denominational church. It all goes back to what the Word says in the Bible. You may be raised one way, but if you're being raised a certain way, in the ways that you're worshiping God or how you're worshiping God, are not lining up with the Bible, then I would say you got to reevaluate how you're worshiping and what you're doing. I mean, like, if you're going out and you're cutting lambs' throats and then actually sacrificing them, you know, it does not say for us to do that anymore, you know?
Yeah, that's old covenant.
Exactly. So that's kind of where it falls for that. Now, coming to the part, have you never been exposed? That's going to be something I'm going to do a lot more reading into. Because I guarantee you it says, I mean, it has to say something in the Bible about that. And I know it does because I've heard about it before when I was being raised. And there was like a lesson about that when I was young. I remember I was like 6, 7, maybe younger, maybe older. Not well enough to know, though. But I was sitting there, and I remember that topic being brought up. So that's something I'm going to dive into more personally.
So, like, I've read that, just riffing off of Benny Hinn, and, you know, if Benny Hinn's watching our podcast, then
What up, Benny?
what up, Benny? But just riffing off of Benny Hinn for a second here, I have read stories about how, if you've ever watched Benny Hinn, his ministry is a
Pause the video, watch Benny Hinn, then come back.
is a healing ministry. That's his point is he heals people.
I'll give you some leeway there.
And I have read countless stories of people who actually needed to be healed that were not allowed to get anywhere near him. You look confused.
Yeah, that's counterproductive. If I'm a healing ministry and there's people who need healing, bring them up to the stage.
So, like, he
dude.
has everything that you see on TV.
Big stage, lots of people.
People flopping around like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
And then you have people who don't know any better. They're like, hey, here's my son. He's got stage 4 brain cancer. I want him to go
Receive
Benny
some
Hinn.
healing.
And dude, this is weird. It almost parallels like the woman going after Jesus' garment. And you have his disciples, not Jesus, but Benny Hinn's,
Minions.
his minions, basically.
His group of
Handlers.
His
Yeah.
deacons and
His
board of
people.
directors.
He's got people for that.
And they're like, no, you cannot go. You cannot. You're not allowed to go see him. I mean, you got an iPad, pull that up.
Why? And not why pull it up, but why? Why can't I get? I seen the man on TV, heard his name, drove however far, caught a flight, whatever. I'm here.
Because everything that he does is an illusion,
He's like David Copperfield.
basically.
That's what I would say. I would say they wouldn't allow somebody
If
who
I-
has
Go ahead.
cancer, or something that they know that they can't do. If they have somebody say, hey, I have cancer, I would like Benny Hinn to heal me. You walk up to him, he heals you, tries to heal you, you walk away and you're not healed and you still pass away of cancer, then his ministry goes down. Oh man, maybe it doesn't work,
Yeah.
But
So like I've seen his videos, and we watched one where he stands up, he puts his arms out, and the whole congregation
Falls
falls
down.
over like dominoes. I mean, come on.
Under the whole subtitle of
What are the
theatrics,
odds?
Those are theatrics.
What are the odds that every single person in the congregation was feeling the Spirit in that moment, and every single? Now, I'm not. Listen,
What are the odds?
I'm not saying that the power of God can't come down and do that. I'm not saying that.
I'm not
I
hearing
want
you
to make
say
sure
that.
that
Word.
clear. I'm not saying that, but
I would find it unlikely. Is it impossible? No, dude. I have a very possible God that does all kinds of cool stuff. Is it likely? Not likely. When I think about things that God's going to do, I don't think God totes around on a unicycle juggling.
Like,
God comes in and he's God. He doesn't need.
theatrics is something that I struggle with, even here, because the last thing that I want to. I've been a performer. I was in rock bands I'm in a Christian rock band, but I'm entertaining the crowd as well.
You're playing for you. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So I'm entertaining the crowd, but I'm also giving them the word, right? Giving them the word, but I'm also entertaining. Now, when you do worship, you have to be careful with that, because, and I struggle with it. I struggle with it on Sunday because I'm back there dancing around like a fool because I was legitimately into the music and into the worship set. But I have to be careful with that because I never want what I'm doing to look like a performance, because it's not. I get very into worship music and I get very into the moment. I'll be straight up with you. I'm an introvert off the stage. I am. I have a hard time, like, if I'm in a small group and you ask me to pray over whatever, I have a hard time with that. But I can get up and pray over the church service, no problem. And I don't know why that is. I guess it's like when I'm on stage, I feel like I'm in like a bubble, and I'm like shielded a little bit. And when you're out in a group of 3 or 4, you feel more vulnerable and more exposed. So I do a lot of things, like I don't raise my hands a lot out in the crowd. I just don't. But I feel the Spirit moving me to be willing to do that when I'm in a worship set, because again, I feel like I'm more in a bubble, I guess. So I do a lot of things that I don't normally do, and I always tell people. I told Pastor Donnie before I even started coming here that, music brings a side of me out that doesn't normally otherwise exist. So I have to be careful that what I'm doing doesn't get seen in the wrong light, because I don't do it everywhere else, but it's just because I'm in a different zone. Does that even make sense? Does that?
Makes 100% sense. I struggle with the same thing. And that's, I don't know, that's one of the reasons that I'm not as eager to sing songs. I mean, you don't see me singing that much on Sunday. I really like sitting back. I love playing keys. I love playing guitar. I love singing too. Now, granted, I am not the best singer on our worship team. There are many other people who surpass me greatly. But I love being able to sit back, and I feel like when I'm singing, I worry more about trying to hit the notes and this than really being in God's presence. And when I am playing keys and guitar, that comes second nature to me, and it really allows me to listen to others and really soak up the words that are being said. Now, once I get to know a song, that doesn't matter as much because I'm able to do that second nature and really soak in the words. But I'm the same way. And I come from a background where I started music, I started audio engineering in a secular place. I didn't start in the church. So my love for music comes from a love for music. It's the gift that I believe God gave me to use for Him, and that's why I am not doing engineering for secular places anymore or something like that. And I've really devoted all of my time to music, to really in the church here. Now, will I listen to country music, if I'm driving around? Absolutely, as long as it's not derogatory music. But I agree with you. It makes 100% sense. And yeah, I mean, as long as as long as you know about it, as long as you pray about it, and as long as you take it in and you understand, okay, hey, these are the reasons I'm here for. I think that's awesome. I think it's really cool to dive into that.
When I think about worship, I've been to a church that they have a fog machine and they've got rock lights and they're changing. I mean, we have lights to illuminate the stage and we can set an atmosphere and a mood with the color, but the lights aren't just strobing like we're at a disco, right? When I'm back there and I'm drumming, I have a good time. You know, I'm smiling, I'm into the song. But I'll tell you, a couple weeks ago when I had off and I showed up on Sunday and you were drumming and I was on the floor watching worship as opposed to being part of worship, I didn't realize how much I had missed actually soaking in worship as opposed to playing. Not
Different on the other side of the stage.
very much, and I received greatly from it. Where while I'm back there and I'm doing my part to be part of the band to provide for everyone that's out there, that's important. And if you see me having a good time back there, that's not me trying to show off. That's me trying to enjoy worship for what I can.
Yeah. Drumming is hard. Drumming in the worship band, you don't have as much spiritual freedom as you do.
Well, yeah, I gotta keep time.
You're in charge of the song. You really are. You're the backbone of the song. If you fall off, we all fall off with you.
If I fall off, you need to look over because the cross fell on me.
If
I'm
anybody else
trapped.
falls off, there was a couple parts on Sunday. Weird. I've never done that with this before, but I stopped playing a couple of times. I just stopped playing. I turned this direction and just kind of watched the band because I was so like just in awe of how the Spirit was moving during this. You watched it live.
I watched the entire thing live.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you couldn't even see me. I was like
Did you
off
watch me lose
camera.
my stick.
I missed that. When I watched it, I was sitting in. Now I was sick last week and I had a slight fever and everything. So I was in the doctor's
Unforgiven. You're unforgiven for
It's
that.
an unexcused absence as far as I'm aware.
office. Right. So I was sitting in the doctor's office and I'm just like chilling. I'm jamming out there like this, looking at my phone, and I'm like, I don't have headphones with me, so I just turned up
Oh,
the
you're that
volume.
guy.
And I was
Nice.
around everybody else. I started off like this, and I was like,
I just need to see
It's
it.
I was like,
Sunday, people. Get
no,
your Jesus on.
cranked it up, and I should have hit like the little broadcast button to the TV.
If
in
you
the
had
lobby.
decks, you could have done
If I
it.
had that, I could have done it and broadcasted it. But
So like I was off camera for most of it because of the way the camera position. But there was like 2 spots in the set where I let go of the keys, stopped playing, turned this direction, and I was just kind of watching the group because the band
I
was
do that
like
too all the time. I love it.
the band was like in tune like I had never heard it before. You had Jeremy just going to town on the bass, nailing the drums.
Stephen and Connor sounded
You know,
awesome.
Alora was
Doing her thing,
doing
dude.
her thing, just in the zone.
Spirit taking over.
Yeah, and man, it's just it's crazy to think like I've been here for a year now, and when I go back and I watch a live from a year ago
Oh man.
compared to last
Now.
Sunday,
It's been a while since I did that. Oh man.
dude, it's like a quantum leap.
But okay, when you came on,
It wasn't because
we-
I came on.
no. When you came on, we were still transitioning with people, trying to get the right fit. How do we sound together? Getting comfortable. I mean, we were still working out what we sounded like. There was a lot to work on.
Yeah, and
Dude, we still have a lot to work on.
No,
but
no. Admittedly, we still have a lot to
Right,
work on, but
but-
we have progressed considerably in that time.
but see, like we're getting to a point. I'm trying to bring this back to church theatrics, but we're getting to a point where a lot of us are now to a point where we're not stick figure worshipers anymore. We don't just hold the microphone. We don't just stand in one spot. we have a stage presence at this point, or stage presence.
But it's not so it's not
You
distracting.
see where I'm going with it, though?
It's not,
We're not
over the top.
right, and I'm not trying. I don't ever want it to be over the top.
Okay, so in the time that Rhonda and I have traveled, when we've been out of town on a weekend, when we've been somewhere on a Sunday, we love to go to a service in the town that we're in. And we've been in Savannah, we've been in Nashville, we've been in Charlotte, we all over the place, right? Okay. We went and we were visiting my parents over in Daytona, and we were looking, and normally we listen to some sermons just to see what the vibe of the church is, right? We're like, oh, I totally love how this, what he's saying, let's go there. We didn't. We ended up at like the most traditional church ever. Like you walk in and it just smells traditional, right?
Love those
Okay.
churches.
Pews, and we went from
Stained glass windows.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we walk in and we do Bible study, which was cool, right? We were the youngest people by like 3 decades.
Wow, that's saying
That's a lot. And so as we're waiting for service to start, we're looking around. I'm like, okay, well, they don't have a stage, so it's not a contemporary worship. I don't see an organ. I also don't see a piano. Oh, maybe they get up with an acoustic guitar. So the dude walks up to the little pulpit thing, and he's into the microphone. And he's like, if you guys would stand, we're going to sing some hymns. And he breaks out this little thing, and it's like a little ocarina looking thing, and it's a pitch pipe, and he's like, boop. And he's conducting like he's Lawrence Welk with the band, right? And it's hymns, and it's not lengthy songs like we sing now, where there's 3 verses and a bridge, and you got to go through the chorus 5 minutes later you're done with the song. Song's over in like a minute and a half. We sang like 3 of them. I didn't know the melody to any of them.
Right.
Super stripped down. The melody is your voice. The words are important because every word in a 35-word song matters, right? We also went to another service in Savannah that it was in a room not even a quarter the size of this, in a YMCA. It's a dude on an acoustic. It's a dude on a 3-piece drum set, kick, snare, and hi-hat, and a dude on a bass guitar. Super intimate, very rustic, awesome worship. Nothing over the top. No theatrics, no lights, no smoke machine, no nothing even crazy, right?
Quick sidebar.
Uh-huh.
I'm in the camp that likes the fog machine. I'll tell you why.
I'll tell you why they like the fog machine, but I'll hit me. Tell me why.
I like the fog machine in a worship setting because some of the best experiences that I've ever had in worship, one that I can think of just off the top of my head, was years and years and years ago. I went to Night of Joy, and I saw Cutlass.
Mm-hmm.
And, Cutlass they do hard rock and they do worship. And they usually combine them both. They start out with hard rock, they go into like the middle of their set is worship, and then they close it out with hard rock again. They do like 2 concerts in one, which is really, really cool. Anyway, I was kind of close to the front of the stage, bunch of people, probably 200 or 300 people packed in that little area. And they had fog machines kind of just going throughout the park. But when they went to their worship set, because of how foggy everything was, it kind of isolated you when you're in that deep worship and you're not really focused. You're not really focused about who's around you, but at the same time, everyone is in unison. Basically, everybody is in one accord. That's such a cool experience. You don't always see it everywhere you go. When everybody gets into one accord, but you also feel kind of in your own bubble at the same time, that allows for me, it allows for a worship experience like I can only count on like one hand that I've experienced. So like when I think of a fog machine, I don't really think of it as like a stage element. I think of it as kind of spreading people out within a crowd and still being within a crowd atmosphere.
It's gonna affect everybody different, because if I were to pluck the people out of that mad traditional church with the dude and the pitch pipe and no instrumental accompaniments at all,
Right, it won't work there.
and I were to pluck those people who receive from that and I were to put them in our seats on a Sunday,
Yeah, it's culture shock.
they would look at our service and be like,
Yeah.
that's over the top.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
I get that.
And so it speaks to people differently. It doesn't speak to me. When I think of church theatrics, I don't exclusively put it on worship. I spread that out to
Pastors.
preaching style. Yeah.
I'll do.
Yeah, the dudes. I'll turn it over to the dude on the side of the corner with a sign that says "Repent now," John 3:16, and I'm like, "But you're screaming at random people, dude. Somebody might receive from that. I
So,
don't."
We go to a church that has an animated pastor. We're in the building right now.
Word.
We have an animated pastor, but I have known our pastor for 15 years now, and he's a football coach.
He yells.
So he naturally
You gonna get some yelling?
that's just I know that's him, you know, and so
It's not a theatric. That's his normal.
that's him.
That's me trying to That's me trying to relay what I'm trying to get out to you.
And we
Yell,
have
son.
and we have an associate pastor who's very, and I mean this in a good way, Joe, if you're watching.
Gospelly.
Old school. I was gonna say old school, but I mean that
Old school gospel, yeah.
Old school gospel, just like preaching from like, it's almost like people used to say hellfire and brimstone messages, but
That's his delivery
and I enjoy
mechanism.
his
Yeah,
messages.
Yeah. No, it's not a dig. That's his
yeah.
delivery mechanism.
And I think in the location that we're in all honesty, I think it's a great thing because you got a lot of country people out here, you know, old country boys who want to come to church and and like, you know, going, dressing up in a suit and tie on
Not
a
for
Sunday.
Them dudes are going to walk in on a Sunday if they saw Donnie in a suit and tie and it's not a funeral. If they walked in and they saw a pastor in a suit and tie,
They'll probably turn around and walk out.
I've seen Donnie in a suit and tie giving the same message multiple times at his old church.
Now, maybe you walk in, you see your pastor in jeans and sandals, then you're like, okay, I know what's up.
I can relate to that dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
I might
But
come
like,
back.
but
I'm
when
gonna
you
listen.
watch someone like Benny Hinn, I got to take it back. When you watch someone like Benny Hinn, that for me, and again, I don't know nothing about Benny Hinn as a person, besides what I've seen from him. But
If I found myself at Faith World and Benny Hinn was up on stage 250 yards ahead of me,
I have a hard time with Joel Osteen as well. Can I just say that?
yeah, no, I'm
That's
on-
a whole opposite side of the spectrum. Joel Osteen is very calm and
he delivers a very
makes you feel good.
crafted message. Yes,
You feel good at the end of it.
I won't deny that.
You watch Joel Osteen?
No, I have not.
Joel Osteen is like the opposite of Benny Hinn.
Okay.
He's a pastor of he's actually the pastor of the largest church in the United States.
Okay.
Their church is an arena. It literally
It's
is
an old arena.
Is an old
Oh, wow.
arena that they bought from an NBA team.
In Houston.
Wow.
They bought it from the Houston Rockets.
Okay.
They converted the building into a church.
To
But-
Laurelwood? I forget the name
It's
of it.
it's a Lakewood.
Lakewood, there you go.
But the actual arena portion is the church. And
They have like 40,000 people attend on a Sunday service.
every Sunday,
Wow.
every
That's a lot of
single
people.
Sunday.
That is a lot of people.
That's a lot
Actually,
of
I think they have more than 40,000. I think they have over 50.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy. I mean, like, most concerts don't even bring in 40,000 people.
No, because they can seat more because they seat them. Concerts, you close off like a quarter of the seating. They don't
Right.
do that for his church. They put it
Circular
behind
all the
it.
way around.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like in the middle.
He delivers an effective message. He's an effective orator. There are many elements of his message that are agreeable and line up. And then there are some moments that
He's very calm. Never yells.
mm-mm.
He always has a very feel-good message. And if you watched him, you'd feel great. It's not like Benny Hinn where you'd be like, I don't know about this guy.
I feel like I'm going to be
just feel
bruised.
Weird, yeah. When you watch Joel
I would be
Osteen-
afraid to be bruised by him.
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm in a bad mood and I'll go sit in my office and watch a Joel Osteen message,
Okay.
and I legitimately feel better usually after it because it's very calm it's what I want to hear.
It doesn't get you out of your comfortability
I want to
zone.
hear that Jesus loves me and
It
I'm
doesn't-
going to heaven.
It doesn't
and
push you for growth.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Personal opinion.
Prosperity preaching.
Prosperity, yes.
So
Everything is good. God loves you. Nothing bad's going to happen.
I think sometimes you
pray a
need
little
your
harder.
pastor to kick you in the butt. You know, like,
I love honestly and personally, I love those messages where I feel uncomfortable. I'm like, dang, dude, he is talking straight to me. I hope nobody else knows.
Absolutely. Those messages are the ones, in my opinion, that you walk away growing the most in Christ and being, the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Wanting and willing to dive into his word, for the rest of the week. You hear people who come to church one Sunday and they don't go to church for the, rest of the week, and they don't even pick up their Bible, Me personally, I used to do that. I used to be one of those people who would just come to church on Sunday, sit through service, take it like a college class almost, and try to live my life like that, during the week, but have slip-ups. Do I still have slip-ups? Absolutely. But now every Sunday I try to dive into the Word. Let me rephrase that. I do dive into the Word. You have like the little Bible streak on the Bible app, it tells you your little streak. And man, if that ever gets to 0, I'm a bummed out dude.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree with you. Those messages where you walk away from that.
I'll be honest with you. There's most certainly weeks that are on autopilot where, my Bible app gives me my verse of the day every morning at 7:30,
Yep.
right? That's cool. Most mornings, every morning I look at it, there's a good probably 50-50 chance that I don't open it and read the rest of it, read the follow-up,
Right.
spend 5 or even 10 minutes thinking about it. Honest, true story, right? Donnie says, be real, be real. That's me on an average basis. But I don't want, when I became a new Christian, somebody suggested, not to me, but out loud, if you ever want to do what God has in store for your life, go get uncomfortable. If you're comfortable, that's fine. Go get uncomfortable. Go see what he can do. I was like, huh. And in those moments that either someone has pushed me, thankfully, or suggested and nudged me, or I just decided that I should stop talking a big game and actually do something about it, go get uncomfortable. Go do something I don't want to go do. And I'll tell you, you want to talk about growth? Those are the moments that I remember the most because they are the ones that excite me the most because something actually came from it, either for me or for someone or both. And I don't want to go sit on Sunday and have my pastor or wherever I go and receive service on that Sunday, I don't want him to just pet my head and say, there, it's all good, you're cool, it's not all that bad. Nah, dude, put your foot in my butt, yell in my face, and make some change.
Yeah.
Force me to get up and do something.
Those are good points. It's so strange how God gets a message to you sometimes. Like I was down in the dumps the other night. I don't even know why. Just just one of those nights where I just
Because you were
it wasn't
realizing
me-
you weren't going to be 32 for 2 more years.
No, but really though, you have those nights where
Good one.
nothing really happens to you. Like there's not like something that there's not a singular thing that sets you off. You're just in a bad mood for
Yeah,
whatever
you kind of
reason.
just like slump down. You're like,
Yeah, nothing's
what
really.
am I doing? It's like
yeah.
nothing's going on. So yeah, I had that happen to me the other week.
I
feel
have
you.
I have that happen to me sometimes when, and I think it's when things slow down. Like I'm very fast paced. I like to have it bothers my wife because, there's a lot. I'm always going 60 miles per hour. I never slow down to stop and smell the flowers, so to speak. And that's a vice that I deal with, and it affects my marriage in some ways because
It can
I
be a
never-
lot at times.
I never slow down.
Yeah.
But when I do slow down, I just feel kind of like I'm not doing anything. I'm useless right now, and I felt that way the other night. And it's weird how God speaks to you because earlier in that day, Stephen Foster had messaged me a song from Lacey Sturm, who used to be a singer of Flyleaf. And we're big fans of her. we kind of grew up with her music, so big fans of her. She put out a rock song, new rock song, and it's a banger. I mean, she's a really good song. I went and listened to it a few times, and we were kind of chatting on Facebook, and I was like, yo, that's a really good song. I really like it a lot. And he said, yeah, she did like a worship album, and now she's doing rock again. Well, I had no idea at all that she had ever done a worship album, like ever. I didn't even know it existed. So I didn't give it much thought, but like a few hours later, I was like, let me check out this worship album. I ended up sharing it with you guys on Facebook, but that was the one that I shared on Facebook.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to look at it. There's a random song on Spotify with her, like, and it's labeled Flyleaf, and they basically cover How He Loves, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's my
Yeah,
favorite
she did
version
How
of
He
that
Loves.
song.
But I was like, let me check out this worship album. So I looked it up, and I listened to the first 3 songs, and dude, like, first 3 songs, like, they were just, it was
You're
like
hooked.
it was like they were singing to me, man. And so then usually when that happens, I'll go into like a zone where I'm doing some research. So I went and looked up the songs on YouTube, and she had like a video where she did like a spoken word and then went to the song, and she didn't say what it was, but she mentioned Psalm 1. So I was like, let me go look up Psalm 1. And dude, man, it was like weird, like how much I needed to hear those words. I'm just gonna read it real
I
quick.
was gonna
Yeah,
say,
let's hear it.
I don't know Psalm 1. Hit me.
So Psalm 1 is, blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. His delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. And dude, I was feeling useless that day. Like I was feeling like a bump on a log, man.
You're the tree, bro.
And it's crazy. Like I needed to hear that, and I never would have heard that if I hadn't heard from Stephen Foster, who told me about a rock song, who told me about a worship song later, which I then went and listened to, and then I decided to research them, stumbled upon that video that pointed me to Psalm 1. That's a lot of steps to get there.
I love.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, after you, brother.
I was just gonna say it's amazing how
That's like
God
7 or 8
puts-
steps to get to that point.
absolutely. I got another story. I'll let you go, and then I got a story I want to share.
Things like that, I love what I call God's long play, because it's not 1 or 2 steps, solution, actionable
Gotta
result.
get there.
You got to put this together, to put that together, to put this to that one, and it's like one of those Rube Goldberg machines where as you drop the marble, you finally get the gumball from it, right? All of that had to go on for you to get that. He couldn't have just dropped it. I
No.
mean, he could have.
Psalm 1.
But he didn't.
But
He
had to
used
work for it.
Stephen to get to you, but not directly. Like, hey, bro, God was putting Psalm 1 on my heart, and no, long way around.
Long way around.
That's awesome. That's when you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, like, for me, that's when I know God's at work, because that's way too complicated, and I couldn't have figured it out past, like, step 2. But God figured it out, and bam, there you go. That's
Dude,
awesome.
I had to sit there for like 5 minutes. Just
That's
be like,
deep.
Yo, man, that's
I hear you
yeah, right?
loud and clear, yo.
We're all on the same page.
Absolutely.
You know, I was. I'm sorry. No, you said you had thought. Go.
Oh,
Go.
yeah. So you were just talking about how God uses us, and that reminded me of a story. We were. It's a Wednesday. Rhonda was speaking, and she asked Alora and I to do a couple of different songs, and Alora and I were able to relate to all of them except for one. Both of us just couldn't find anything.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, and me personally, and yeah, you were playing too, right? You played bass.
Yep.
You jumped in last minute to play bass with us, and that was
That's
awesome.
what I do.
I made it.
That's what I do, Mark Henry. I
And
didn't do it right. That's what I do.
And that's how we're going to transition into our wrestling topic.
my
No, I'm
gosh.
just kidding. That's when Stephen Foster comes with us.
We get the panel for that one.
Yeah. So And Ricky, man, we got to get Ricky here for wrestling. He's into wrestling, right? So, long story short, the song was Different by Micah Tyler. You saw me go back into my phone, and that was to look at it. And I was having a really hard time finding a connection to it. I love to find a connection, whether it be some lyrics in the song that really resonate with me, or some lyrics that, go back to scripture that resonates with me. Otherwise, I have a really hard time singing it for the right reasons. I'm like, oh, why am I singing this? I'm just singing these words because I have to. And literally, the day of, I was driving here just by myself, coming down 441 in my Jeep, and I say, you know what? It's kind of a electronic song. It had a lot of synth and stuff, and it was just gonna be me, Alora, and what we didn't know at the time, but was Josh jumped in with us last minute. And
That's what I do.
I'm gonna get you a shirt that says "That's what I do," like little guitars and pianos.
Buy a Mark
and
Henry shirt, man.
drums. And last minute, I said, you know what? Let me listen to an acoustic version, and maybe listening to this acoustic version, I'll find something in it. Because you know me, I'm not a big electronic music guy. I love just good old soulful acoustic folk music.
Folk music.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel, man. Peter, Paul, and Mary. I'll listen to that all day long. Or stuff like Rent Collective.
George Strait.
George Strait, yes sir.
George
And
Jones.
What's more American than George Strait, man?
I have no
All right,
idea.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Or anyways, I look up the acoustic version, and there was something I needed to hear. I was in a time really struggling. My granny was diagnosed with cancer, and she was a grandparent that I was closer to than nobody else. I'm close with most of my family, but this person I was the closest to, and I had the best connection with. And I always lived far away from my grandparents, so I was never really able to see them when I was younger because I couldn't drive there. I was so young, and it had to be on mom and dad's time.
That's a long way to pedal a bike.
Exactly. When it's a 3-hour drive in a car, pedaling a bike, that's kind of rough. Anyways, when I first got my license, I would always go up there, and I would always, make the extra trip to go see them. Plus, I had cousins up there. Anyways, she was diagnosed with cancer. She had surgery. She's out of it now. She's doing okay. But at the time, we had no idea what stage of cancer it was. It was colon cancer. So it was more on the serious end of cancers. It's not like, now every cancer is serious. Don't take me wrong on that.
I hear what you're saying.
But,
It's aggressive.
It was aggressive form. She had to have a lot of her colon taken out. Anyways, song comes on, and Micah Tyler's speaking. And starts it off with, when I was 14 or 4 or something like that, my brother diagnosed, it was just my brother diagnosed with cancer. I was like, oh man, that stinks. At the time, I didn't relate it with anything. He keeps talking, and I think that was God's first way of trying to get my attention. But I was kind of just in the I'm just going to go to church, sing it, and get it over with. I was being very hard-headed that day. And anyways, long story short, he keeps talking. Then he goes into something. He goes, then I turned this old. Everything was getting better. My brother, he passed away, or maybe it was his grandma who passed away. Somebody. Then he goes, my grandma was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And I just heard that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, now my ears are perked up.
I was like, man, my ears are perked up. Hairs on the back of my neck. I got chills. And I just started sobbing in the middle of the road. I was driving. Couldn't see worth anything. And I started sobbing, breaking down. And at that moment, I didn't feel like I needed to break down. Like on my way there, I had a phenomenal day that day, other than the fact of hearing the news about my grandmother. She was okay in the moment, but I was having a good day. She was feeling all right. It was a good day. And I just started breaking down, and I had no idea why. And it was that connection that I was looking for to that song. And maybe that had a connection with Rhonda when she gave her message, or maybe it had a connection with somebody else, and maybe that helped somebody else. It probably helped me the most, if I'm being honest. That was right around the time where I started making sure I dived and read my Bible every single day. And yeah, I think it is awesome how God, and those little moments are what make me say God is real. This
Yeah.
is why we're here.
Absolutely.
We have a
Those
purpose.
are long moments to get to that point. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. I was thinking while we were getting into the topic, trying to circle back to theatrics and everything. You know, you were saying that Benny Hinn, his ministry is based on healing and his performance style, I guess, if we want to wrap it up there on how to get there. But I think about, have y'all ever watched anything on Todd White? Do y'all know who Todd White is? Okay,
No.
so he's an evangelical dude, and if you watch him on Facebook, YouTube, I mean, he's got videos everywhere. He doesn't necessarily intently go around healing people, though that is part of his ministry, and he will pray over people and he will lay hands on people. But he doesn't do it Benny Hinn style, right? Theatrics taken out of it. Hey, brother, I just want to talk to you about life. What's going on with you? That's cool. What are you doing here? What brings you? Conversations like, I mean, heck, dude, we've spent time breaking bread over food, and we end up talking about Jesus and God and life, and just it becomes part of normal vocabulary, right? That's Todd White's delivery is, let me learn about you. How old are you? What do you do? How long have you been here? What's going on? What are you doing today? Do you want to come hang out with us? This is what we're doing. Like whatever. And he has laid hands and prayed for people in the spirit and brought that to them without smoke and mirrors, without all of this other stuff, other than just having a conversation like we're having right now. When trying to wrap up the topic, when I think about stage theatrics or theatrics in general, right? I think about reading the end of days type stuff in the Bible, and it's, there's going to be these loud trumpets, and there's going to be a cloud, and they're going to come from heaven, and all. Like, I'm like, dang, dude, that's a lot, right? It's like a big circus. But when I think about what God has to say, right? When I've been up here and I've shared messages with people, I sit down, right? There's been other people and they stand up, and you get a message from Donnie and Joe, and they're animated and they're amped up. Those are all effective, and they're all different. And to some people, that would be theatrics. Me sitting in a chair inviting you to have a seat and hang out with me. Some people would call that theatrical. Some people would call this theatrical. I mean, it all depends on what speaks to you and how you receive it. And I'm thankful that even the dude that I don't agree with and I don't receive from it, the dude or dudette that's on the side of the road at the corner with the sign that says, "Repent now, the end is at hand," I don't receive from that, but I hope somebody does. I hope somebody takes from it. And so Benny Hinn and what he has to offer, I find it laughable because I find it more entertaining than I do spiritual. That's just me. It may be irreverent for me to say that, but that's where I'm at. I hope somebody that went there got from that. I hope somebody who goes and
Absolutely.
sits in Joel Osteen's church or Rick Warren's church out in California, that they receive from all of that, What
Absolutely.
I also hope is that people feel challenged to reference what they're receiving and make sure that it lines up biblically, right? Like, just because I'm going to sit up here tomorrow and share a word doesn't mean that I have it right. I may very well unintentionally share something that doesn't line up properly. And I hope that someone won't just take what I have to say as gospel, and that they'll be like, you know what, Rob, you shared something the other night. I'm not trying to stick it to you, man, but I just want you to know this wasn't necessarily on point, and it may have led some people astray. I would hope somebody does that. So that's my closing. That's my 2 cents. I'm out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an awesome way.
Yeah.
That's a great in conclusion paragraph.
Boom.
It was. And now to conclude this podcast, I have one question for both of you.
All right, let's hear it.
And I'm going to tell you the answer before I show you.
The answer is yes. I already know what the question is. Yeah.
No.
No? Oh, I don't.
The answer is Mystic Bronze. Okay? All right? This is the closeout.
Okay.
The answer
I
to
was
the question.
really hoping the question was, do you want to get Denny's or ice cream or
No,
donuts
my wife
afterwards?
won't let me. My wife will divorce
Did
me
you
if I
did you
go
watch my
tonight.
energy level come way up here for a minute?
Man, ice cream
already
from
had
Twisty
pizza.
Treat sounds like the jam right now. It sounds like the JMR podcast, in my
Sure
opinion.
does.
All right, so the answer is
Mystic
Bronze. And the question is, what color is this?
It's not Mystic Bronze, yo.
Did you buy a purple phone, Josh?
You'll get your chance.
Okay.
It's not rose gold.
The
but
answer
it
is Mystic Bronze.
maybe it's because the lights that are here, but it kind
I
of
don't
comes
know.
off
I got white lights on.
pinky purple.
The
That's not-
answer is Mystic Bronze.
The answer is.
What would happen if I dropped it right now?
You'd owe me some money.
I'll trade you an iPhone 11. All right.
I will now up my rebate to $10.
So I dig it. I dig the phone.
I dig the case. You need to put the case back on.
In fact, I could balance the mic like this while I hold it.
It makes
Going
you get,
about
get a
all-
good look at it.
Did you just do the old guy thing?
Get a good
Even
scientific,
I don't do that.
Get a good scientific look at it.
Firstly, let me get a scientific look at it with my bifocals here.
I'm gonna blame the lights, dude, because when I took the Orange Crush out of the refrigerator, it was orange, and when I poured it into my cup, it was red.
My wife tells me that I bought a pink phone.
Yeah, man, I would agree with your
I'm
wife.
gonna side with Becca.
Definitely looks like a pink phone, especially the camera where the glossy part is. I could go with the back, but where the glossy sections are, man, you got a.
It's a chick phone.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that, but
I'll be
yeah,
mean. It's a chick phone.
It is a very Barbie phone.
It's Mystic Bronze.
It's mystic.
And
on
with
how
that, it's going
bronze.
back in its case.
As
It will
where it belongs.
forever be in a case.
So if you'd like to put in your poll votes, if you say it is pink, we will.
Matt will
what
trade
would we
you
do?
his iPhone 11 for your Android.
Yeah, and if you let us know what you think it is in the comment sections. Pink.
All right, we are signing off because it's 9 o'clock. Thank y'all for watching the show with us, or
Yeah.
watching it later, or listening on audio only. And we will be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 week-a-roonies. Thank you for tuning in.
See ya.
Peace.
I'll go turn it off. It's Mystic Bronze. I was told Mystic Bronze when I ordered it. Mystic Bronze. Are we off? Off? We are live.
Hey there.
Hey, so we have to do our clapping intro.
It's officially started.
It is. It is. We have Matthew back here at the panel.
What's going on?
And-
Did you buy a purple phone, Josh?
You'll get your chance.
Okay.
It's not rose gold.
The- We weren't talking to air.
you to take a photo right there with your stylus.
So like, hold that, Matt, like that. Point at Rob. So like,
Can I
use
mug you?
this, and I can take a picture
With your pen?
like that.
What?
Boom.
What?
That's a
It's
new
like
snapshot
Harry
right
Potter
there.
Wand.
And there's our. That's gonna be on. That is literally gonna be our profile picture tonight.
Nice.
Let's get it.
Nice.
So, you can use it as a shutter button.
No, that's a Harry Potter.